We finally dive into Absolute Evil number 1, and trust me, this story is wild from the very first page. It all kicks off back in 1951 with Hawkman of the Absolute Universe. He's standing before the House of Un-American Activities Committee, called in to answer some tough questions. Hawkman makes it clear he's kept his identity a secret while operating as a hero. But when pressed to reveal it, he flips the script. Instead of protecting himself, he offers to expose the rats undermining the country. In this universe, Hawkman isn't the noble warrior we're used to. He's eager to sell people out, showing us right away that this world operates on a very different moral compass. From there, the story jumps to the present day, where we meet Oliver Queen, the Absolute Universe's Green Arrow. And honestly, I didn't even realize how different he'd be in this timeline. At first, we only hear him in a one-sided conversation with Roy Harper. Oliver talks about training in his arrow cave, keeping his aim sharp. He's not quite as flawless as his main DC counterpart, but he's still dangerous enough. Then the conversation takes a darker turn. Oliver starts talking about a man named Jabal Slade. Oliver describes him as untouchable, protected by bribed cops and courts, hiding behind wealth and private islands. In short, he's a full-on predator figure, a stand-in for the ugliest kind of corruption. Oliver is furious. He knows the system was built to protect people like Slade, and he can't stomach letting it slide. Roy seems to push back, asking why Oliver feels like it's his responsibility. And Oliver's response is simple. Why not me? He's rich, he's skilled, and he's tired of watching the world rot from within. He sees this as his chance to actually make a difference, even if it means crossing lines other heroes wouldn't. By the end of this exchange, Oliver's intensity is crystal clear. He refuses to calm down, telling Roy that this is the path he was always meant to walk. And just like that, the scene shifts, leaving Oliver behind and moving us straight into the next player on the board. Hector Hammond. Now we shift over to Hector Hammond, a name Green Lantern fans will instantly recognize. In the main DC universe, Hammond is infamous for that massive head and frail body, the result of bizarre experiments. But in the Absolute Universe, things play out differently. Here, Hammond isn't some deformed psychic. He's a powerful corporate tycoon. And his ambitions? They're just as dangerous. Hammond and the other villains of this world are locked in an arms race, trying to harness and weaponize superhuman abilities to gain even more influence. Think of it as Wall Street greed fused with supervillain schemes, the kind of combination that could bring entire nations to their knees. What's interesting is that Hammond doesn't take Oliver Queen seriously at all. While Oliver is driven by a newfound sense of justice, Hammond dismisses him like a midlife crisis. To Hammond, Queen is just a rich man who grew a conscience instead of buying a sports car. He even tells Jabal Slade that Oliver talks big, but doesn't really want results, just the satisfaction of feeling righteous. According to Hammond, nothing feels more righteous than losing. His plan? Throw a few $1 million at Oliver and watch the whole problem disappear. To Hammond, Oliver Queen is predictable, safe, unthreatening, never capable of truly surprising anyone. But then comes the real twist. Hammond isn't just scheming behind the scenes. He shows up at a meeting, one that requires him to surrender all electronic devices before entering. Even then, he throws his weight around, threatening the guard who dares to check him. Classic Hammond power play. Inside, though, the scope of this story really hits. The room is filled with the Absolute Universe's heavy hitters. Absolute Ra's al Ghul, Absolute Reverse Flash the Joker, Veronica Cale, who in this world seems to be filling the Amanda Waller role. One by one, the most dangerous figures of this universe gather together, and you can almost feel the tension in the air. And what's striking is that many of them are meeting for the first time. It's like watching the formation of an evil Justice League, a council of villains coming together with ambitions far bigger than any single plot or plan. The stage is being set for something massive, and for the heroes of this universe, things are about to get very dark. As soon as Hector Hammond steps into the room, you can feel the tension. His reputation precedes him, but Veronica Cale wastes no time establishing control. Calm, direct, and authoritative, she greets him with, "Glad you could join us. I'm Veronica Cale, National Security Advisor. I run this room. Do you have something worth saying?" Hammond, of course, tries to break the ice with sarcasm. If we're taking coffee orders, I'll have a macchiato. But this is not a crowd that tolerates jokes. Immediately, Ra's al Ghul shuts him down with an icy warning. This room is not for games. Speak of business, or do not speak at all. Hector pushes back, demanding, "And who the hell do you think you are?" Ra's doesn't even flinch. "I am Ra's al Ghul. If you don't know what that means, be grateful, and stay silent." One of the coldest lines delivered in this entire absolute universe. Simple, sharp, and absolutely chilling. Hammond tries to recover, claiming he was just being rhetorical, but the room isn't having it. Dr. Thawne, the reverse Flash of this world, sides with Ra's. "Our time is more valuable than any resource on Earth, Hammond. Far too precious to waste on your little jokes." Even the Joker, this absolute universe version, agrees, muttering that he doesn't enjoy jokes. That alone should be a red flag. If the Joker doesn't find you funny, you've seriously miscalculated. The villains finally settle in, and the bigger question comes to the table. Why are we here? What's the real purpose behind gathering so many powerful, dangerous figures into one room? Veronica Cale doesn't waste words. She begins with a history lesson. New York, 1939, she says. Wesley Dodds, a wealthy chemist who made his fortune off new anesthetic patents, soon emerged in the press as a costumed vigilante known as the Sandman. With a mask, a cape, and his trademark non-lethal sleep gas, Dodds embodied youthful idealism, a romantic figure who believed justice could be done without killing. But it didn't last. Dodds was eventually found dead, still in his Sandman costume, a bullet in his chest. His lab had been stripped clean. A year later, the US military unveiled powerful new nerve gas weapons. Conspiracy theorists claimed those weapons were stolen from Dodds' research. Historians? They'll tell you the truth. Yes, those weapons helped win the war. Then she shifts the story to Gotham, 1942. Ted Grant, a professional boxer framed for murder by a gang of thugs. Young, fiery, and determined, he cleared his name by putting on a costume and becoming Wildcat. At first, he fought small-time crooks, then bigger ones. His fists carried him higher and higher, ignored it, until one night he stumbled across something far more sinister. A corrupt factory inspector, bought off by a weapons tycoon to ignore deadly safety violations. That discovery led Grant into a fortune of $50,000 in dirty money. And just like that, Wildcat's story ended. No dramatic death, no climactic showdown. Ted Grant cashed out, bought a gym in Schenectady, trained a few world champions, and eventually died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 81. And here's where things get really interesting. Veronica points out that over the next 5 years, 16 workers died in that same factory producing the nerve gas, the very gas that supposedly helped win the war. Which raises the question, maybe Wildcat's decision to take the money and walk away was, in its own strange way, the most heroic choice he ever made. From there, Veronica shifts the timeline to 1951, Los Angeles. Enter Iron Monroe, a movie stuntman and, frankly, a living anomaly. Rumor had it he could stop a bullet mid-flight or outrun a speeding locomotive. With powers like that, Monroe decided to dedicate himself to a never-ending battle for truth and justice. But instead of epic showdowns with villains, most of his fight seemed to involve political hearings and social scrutiny. He was eventually dragged before the House Un-American Activities Committee, right alongside other costumed adventurers of the time. Unlike many, Monroe refused to bend. He wouldn't name names. He stood tall and called Senator McCarthy exactly what he was, a demagogue. And that was the end of his career. Within a year, Monroe was exiled to a shack in the Nevada desert, isolated, forgotten. And then fate delivered the cruelest punchline. His home was accidentally chosen as the site of a chemical weapons test, all because someone filed the wrong paperwork. Turns out his lungs weren't as invulnerable as the rest of him. Veronica uses this story to drive home a chilling point. 3 examples out of hundreds. Time and again, individuals who dared to act outside the system were dealt with. Silenced, erased, forgotten. That's how it's always been, until now. Because then came the Gateway event, named not only for Gateway City, where it happened, but because it opened the door to something far more dangerous. That day unleashed monsters, and among them was a creature called a tetrad, an abomination so lethal it ranked as the second most dangerous thing to appear. The first? Absolute Wonder Woman. Now why is she so terrifying? Veronica doesn't mince words. She arrived here from hell. She deafened an entire city. She transformed into a Gorgon and turned the Tetrade to stone before shattering it with a single punch. And the most alarming detail? She seized command of the entire operation. Soldiers, trained to follow orders, deferred to her, not because of rank, not because of any official authority, but simply because she demanded it. Her presence, her tone, maybe even mind control. And that's when Veronica asks the most unsettling question of all. Why wasn't she arrested? Word begins to spread about another powerful being emerging on the world stage. This time, it's a man. He's tearing through Lazarus Corps operations in Brazil like a force of nature, shrugging off artillery that would have turned Iron Monroe into dust and literally melting tanks with his eyes. One peacemaker agent, instead of relying on the cold calculations of the Brainiac algorithm, writes her after-action report by hand, describing the encounter in almost poetic terms. To her, this isn't just an anomaly, it's part of a disturbing, new trend. Jump to Gotham City. Here the threat is different. This one looks human, at least we think so. But he's changing the very definition of what human means. He appears and disappears like a phantom, weaving his influence directly into the fabric of the city. And the symbol he wears, not a bat, but an axe blade on his chest. This is absolute Batman. And unlike the billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne we're used to, this Batman is a construction worker. By literally building the city, he's able to hide his tools, networks, and secrets in plain sight, making Gotham itself his greatest weapon. Even the Joker, ever the observer, points out that this man never took the money. And Veronica confirms, exactly. Unlike Ted Grant, he never took the payout. But Gotham isn't the only hotspot. In the quiet town of Evergreen, a massive alien object crashes to Earth, a second gateway event. It's less flashy this time, but far more unsettling. Survivors of the incident have been changed. They're no longer quite human. Meanwhile, a military experiment at Fort Fox spirals out of control, leaving at least one altered survivor on the run. And the big question hanging over all of this, how many more of these beings are out there? What forms do they take? Are they even physical creatures at all? No one knows. Not even Veronica Cale. The fact that Martian Manhunter remains undetected in this absolute universe says a lot. Is he hiding himself with telepathic powers? Or is he simply perceived as a ghost, a rumor, a half-mad cop mumbling to himself? Whatever the case, he's out there. Veronica sums it up grimly. These aren't just powerful beings, they're catalysts. The real danger isn't what they can do, it's what they can inspire. Peacemaker agents breaking protocol, soldiers taking orders from civilians, veteran cops hesitating to shoot a man dressed as a bat. This world runs on order and hierarchy. These newcomers mock all of that. Left unchecked, they could topple everything. And so, she makes her point clear. Before, we could face these threats individually. I don't believe that's possible anymore. You all have private resources. I have government resources. But unless we combine our forces, unless we work together, these monsters will tear our world apart. So after Veronica's big pitch about unity and survival, Hector Hammond isn't buying it. He just smirks and says something along the lines of, "Nice try. I get it. Uncle Sam's broke, so you bring the horror story to shake the tin cup. But let's be honest, I've been dealing with people like them for years. I don't need anyone's help now." And that's when Ra's al Ghul cuts in. Calm. Direct. "I think you do." See, Hammond starts bragging about handling Green Lantern, but that's not what Ra's is getting at. He gives the signal, and Cale calls for Mr. Hall. The door opens, and in walks Hawkman, dragging the corpse of Oliver Queen. His skull caved in with a mallet. Hawkman tosses the body down and simply asks, "Any questions?" That's Ra's al Ghul's point. He tells Hammond, this is how problems get solved. Not in a month, not with endless meetings, not with cheap games or empty threats. One day. One strike. Done. Naturally, this rattles the room, and Dr. Thawne speaks up. She asks, "So what exactly is this? An assassination? A message? Blackmail? What's the point here, Cale?" Cale doesn't miss a beat. She explains, "Call it a demonstration, a reminder of what power can buy and what money can make possible. Think about it. How hard was it for you to track down your runaway experiment from Fort Fox? How much time, money, and influence did it take for Hammond to show up first in Evergreen? Millions. Favors. Entire networks pulled into play. Next time, all it takes is one call, to me." Dr. Thon pushes back, though. Unless Lazarus calls first, then what? A bidding war? She smirks and adds, honestly, I'm still siding with Hammond. I don't see why we should tie ourselves together. An alliance might be convenient, but let's be real, we're not friends. That's the tension Veronica Cale is playing with here. She's not just offering an alliance, she's setting herself up as the broker. If Absolute Flash or any other threat appears again, it won't just be about who has the most power, it'll be about who's willing to pay Cale to get the upper hand. And that's exactly the kind of game Ra's al Ghul is already playing. And that's when Absolute Joker makes his move. He rises to his feet and says, "No, not friends. May I have the floor?" A pause. "Thank you." What's striking is that no one interrupts him. Not a single person dares to talk over him. It's the same unspoken rule that exists in the main DC universe. When the Joker speaks, people listen. Not out of respect, but because they know crossing him can mean sudden, senseless death. And this version of Joker? If anything, the danger feels even sharper. No one in the room is willing to test him. So he begins. I'm going to share with you some recent research from a particle physics laboratory under my control. Needless to say, this information is proprietary. If even a single word of what I'm about to say leaks beyond this room, I will treat it as a personal insult. Even Brainiac, observing remotely through Ra's al Ghul's glasses, acknowledges the threat with a simple, duly noted. In that moment, the Joker establishes complete command of the room. He doesn't need theatrics. He doesn't need to shout, just a calm warning, and everyone understands. When Joker speaks, silence follows. And then the Joker continues, his voice calm but cutting. He starts talking about the Higgs boson, what most people know as the God particle, the supposed missing piece of quantum mechanics, the particle that explains how the universe works. But Joker says everyone's wrong. Last year, he explains, they found something greater, the true endpoint of the search. They call it the Omega particle. According to him, studying it has revealed the fundamental truths of reality itself. This isn't just another piece of matter, it's the basic building block of all creation. And now he says they understand how it behaves, how it reacts, and most importantly, what it reacts to. Then Joker drops the real bombshell. This particle doesn't just have energy, it has a spiritual, even moral dimension. Dr. Thon cuts in, incredulous. You're telling us a subatomic particle understands good and evil? You can't be serious. But Ra's al Ghul immediately silences her. No, he never jokes. Listen to what he's saying. And Joker presses on. The fundamental forces of the universe trend in one direction, and yes, that includes society itself. Gravity warped space, the river runs, the curtain falls, the yoke is heavy. We accept that man is bound to the earth. We do not believe a man can fly. But with this discovery, we must now accept there is also a kind of moral gravity, a force that keeps everything in its place. He paints a stark picture. Existence is ordered. Water flows downhill. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Some hold the winning cards, others clutch only jokers. This isn't chance, he says. This isn't random. This is design. Those who lose in the game of life see their fate woven into creation itself and rage against it, calling it doom. There's a name for that mindset. He says the just world fallacy. And then he twists the knife. Imagine being so warped, so eaten by hate and fear that you think it's a fallacy, but the world is just. We have proof, not of doom, but of natural order, worked upon the world by a higher power. He gestures to the body of Oliver Queen as if to punctuate his point. When spoiled little anarchists like the late Mr. Queen stand against that order, I call that injustice. And injustice must be fought. Chaos must be fought. We must fight it. And how can we fail? God is on our side. Joker lets the silence stretch. Then, almost softly, so, are we friends? We are not. To claim friendship with any of you would insult you. To succumb to friendship is against the moral order. But we can be allies, here in this room. Our watchtower, high above the herd. We can be in league. Between us, we can ensure the moral arc of the universe bends toward justice. And with that, he raises a glass. A toast to an ordered world and to our Justice League. What we just heard was one of the most chillingly brilliant speeches in comics, and it's still not the end of the story. Things only get wilder from here. At this point, the focus shifts over to Brainiac. Remember, he's been watching all of this unfold through Ra's al Ghul's glasses. He studies the data and says, fascinating. truly fascinating. Without your methods, I doubt I could have acquired it. So, thank you, Mirror Master. That reveal is clever. It's not just some simple camera feed hidden in the glasses. Instead, the creative choice to bring Mirror Master into the mix makes the whole setup feel much more sinister and fitting. But Mirror Master doesn't waste time basking in gratitude. He cuts Brainiac off. I didn't come here for thanks. I need your analysis. I need to know how it all connects, how it reflects. Brainiac responds with his own cold logic. A measure of balance serves my goals. Hammond counters Ra's al Ghul and Hawkman. Their egos keep each other in check. Thawne's skepticism balances Veronica Cale's blind devotion. But the man who never jokes? We need to study him, uncover his secrets, and neutralize the threat he poses. There's also another name I recall from your mirror world, someone worth investing in. To complete this vision of a Justice League, we need one more member. And that's when the story pivots again. We cut to a quiet, almost idyllic scene. A man sits calmly, enjoying his tea as the sun sets. It's a wonderful life, isn't it? He remarks. His companion agrees, and he reflects. Strange, I was once an angry young man, consumed by envy, for others' power, their fame, even their looks. But right now, in this moment, I cannot think of a single thing I desire. She teases him, suggesting there's always something to want. But before the thought can finish, his phone rings. He sighs, "No rest for the wicked," and answers. On the line, we hear, "This is Lex Luthor speaking. How can I be of help?" And there it is, the final piece of the puzzle. Absolute Evil #1 reveals the arrival of Absolute Lex Luthor, a man who needs no introduction, but whose presence changes everything. This is where the issue leaves us. A coalition of the most dangerous minds in the DC universe, pulling the strings of fate itself. And with Lex stepping into the game, the so-called Justice League of Villains is finally complete.